everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me, I have Kerry-Ann Stimpson. You are in the what the Americans would call the Caribbean. Well, yes. I would call the Caribbean.
Yes, we say Caribbean too.
Right. Okay. Yes. And we're going to talk about driving growth by marketing to our employees, yes. Which I know for some people might actually find that quite strange. Yes. Kerry-Ann, where before we start, where can people find you?
Well, Tim, thanks again. I'm so happy to be here. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Well, to find me, I am on LinkedIn. So Kerry-Ann Betton Stimpson. I'm always open to connecting with folks who enjoy having a great marketing conversation. And my podcast, which is the Internal Marketing Podcast, is available anywhere podcasts are, or if you want to just Google the Internal Marketing Podcast, the website will pop up, and feel free to join the conversation there by listening in. I'm preparing for season 4, so I'm excited about that.
And your podcast is excellent. And if people want to find anything more about marketing to their employees or internal marketing, because it's certainly a term that I hadn't come across until you came on another podcast that we run called The Digital Download. Yes. And I hadn't come across that before. And if people have wanted to know more, obviously we're going to talk about it today. Right. But you run a podcast as well, which is excellent.
Thank you very much. It's been a great journey. It's been a couple of years now, and I'm super excited and passionate about continuing the conversation.
So you are, I know, because we've talked to you before. So yes. In terms of you're a CMO, you produce your own podcast, but what on earth is internal marketing?
Right. So internal marketing is probably one of the most contentious phrases or nomenclatures in business, and there are probably many definitions that I've come across in my own research, but the one that I like to use quite simply, which I think most people will connect with, it's really down to marketing to your employees, as you would have mentioned in the introduction, but even more specifically, it's about promoting the mission, the vision, the purpose of the company brand, its products, its services, promoting it to the company's very own employees. And the reason why companies would want to do that, because it's important to engage our employees in the mission, the vision, the purpose of the brand. It's important they understand what makes us great, why we're better than the competition. But it also helps to not only engage our employees, but to empower them to be advocates of the brand. Your employees are your number one brand ambassadors, and if they aren't fans of the brand, if they aren't engaged, if they don't feel empowered to talk about the brand to current and prospective customers, then how can we expect to get our customers excited? So that's what internal marketing is all about from where I sit.
And I think it's wonderful because you hear people in organizations saying, well, our employees just turn up and do some tasks and then go home again. But actually what you're saying is, what we're going to do is we're going to say, no, it's more than that. You want purpose? We're going to give it to you.
Yes.
You want a sense of well-being? We're going to give that to you.
Yes.
You want, and even all, and that ability to, I just get this feeling of warmth about, I want to come and work for your organization.
Yes. It's about that building that emotional connection. And when you think about it, even in the marketing space, we try to do that very much with our customers. We want to build that sense of connection, that sense of loyalty, and that emotional connection, most importantly, between our customers and the brand. But again, so very important for us to do that with our employees so that they can exude that same sense of excitement about the brand to the customers that they serve every single day.
And if you think about us, I mean, I'm going to a barbecue on Friday. It's currently Thursday, and I'm going to walk in there. People are going to say, "So what do you do?"
Uh-huh.
And wouldn't it be great if you say, "Well, I just turn up some." Right. Well, I actually work, and it's and this is wonderful, and this and it's like, okay, stop. Yes. But that enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
So why should the business care?
So why should the business care? I mean, probably no better time than now. We're just coming out of a pandemic, right? And when you think about everything that would have happened and what we've learned coming out of that experience, the importance of relationships, the importance of trust, the importance of connection. As a company brand, we've seen when we read all of the wonderful reports about trust and trust barometers and these sorts of things. Trust, you could say, in institutions is at an all-time low, largely because, again, as institutions, especially as marketers, we are supposed to say great things about the brand that we're marketing, right? But again, when you talk about building that connection with people, if your people feel that connection with the brand, they're going to want to exude that sense of connection to customers. And customers will faster believe the words of your employees than they would believe the word from coming from your official marketing channels. So as a brand, if you want to be building that strong sense of connection and trust and relationship and engagement and loyalty with your customers, who better to help drive that connection than your very own people? So businesses do need to care. If your people aren't engaged, it's very difficult to engage your customers in that same way.
And so, but is this about getting your employees to push out brochures?
Right. That's a great question and another contentious conversation, even on a platform like LinkedIn. So again, it's your employees are really not walking, talking billboards. Let's start there. And even if they do become walking, talking billboards, it's not about putting this mandate on them that, hey, you need to post on LinkedIn 3 times a week, or you need to be here. Here is some cut and paste content, and there are companies that do that. And again, I know it's a contentious conversation. But what it is, it's about that engagement, that empowerment, because when you have that emotional connection, they're going to want to talk about it. So it's not about handing them a brochure and they're going around, and passing the flyers along. It's about building that emotional connection so that they're motivated intrinsically to speak positively about the brand and to be able to deliver on the brand promise that we make every day to our customers.
Aren't organizations already doing this? There's a person quite often that will have, you'll have external comms, you may have a PR company working you may have internal comms. Isn't this already being done?
I'm not confident that it's done as often as it probably should be. I think what happens, and you mentioned comms, because I know internal communications is a popular nomenclature, and folks in internal comms will do some measure of activities that are akin to internal marketing. But it's very important that companies understand the difference in the sense that internal marketing is more so driving to the heart, in my view, of brand engagement and engagement in what we do with a view to empower them to become advocates. So when you talk about building culture internally, building awareness about where we work, employee satisfaction and engagement, those are all important ingredients to internal marketing. But what a lot of companies are not getting is that it's about taking it to the next step of engaging them in the brand, understanding, are they passionate about the brand? Do they know what we stand for? What's our unique value proposition? If someone were to stop them in the street and say, hey, why should I buy from you instead of company X down the road, then can they answer that question? And so that's the finite difference. It's taking it to the level of deep engagement in the brand, who we are, what we do, with a view to empowering and spurring to advocacy.
Yeah, I see that there's a clear difference, and I probably don't want to go into the definition of what internal comms is, but giving people that rather than just telling people information,
Yes.
it's about giving them that. Everybody says that nowadays that they want a sense of purpose, and it's
Yes.
giving them that sense of purpose within the organization.
Right.
And people say, well, yeah, my company's boring. If you're passionate about a company, it doesn't matter what you sell or what you do, you can make it passionate and you can give people a sense of purpose.
Absolutely. And I think there's an opportunity. I mean, even in my own company, Tim, we had a situation where we have a great culture at my company where I work, JMMB. But what we did was when we did our own internal brand engagement type survey a couple of years ago, we realized while people were comfortable with the culture and working here, they really didn't understand what made us great. And sometimes too, even if you understand the purpose of the company and your purpose connecting to that purpose, they really didn't understand, well, how do I understand the level of, or what kind of unique value proposition that makes us great. How can I be that ambassador for the brand externally? How can I deliver, and am I empowered enough to be able to deliver on the brand promise? Those were the little nuances that we saw were gaps and opportunities to attend to, so that again they can become those advocates and not just sitting comfortably inside.
There's that famous story, isn't there, of, was it JFK was being shown around NASA, and he came across someone cleaning the floor or something, and he said to the janitor, "So what do you do?" And the janitor said, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon."
There we go.
Of course, in those days it was just a man; it wasn't a man and a woman. So, but you know, there's someone that actually understood what the overall mission was, and they
Yes,
had a
indeed.
piece in that mission.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Excellent example.
So with the business case, do you think that you, by doing this, you could actually generate, this will actually generate business for the organization, leads or business?
Absolutely, and that's another great question. So when you think about it, if we have employees who are engaged, happy, and empowered to be wonderful ambassadors for of the brand, and also delivering on the brand promise to the customer, what you're really building is an army of ambassadors around your brand that not only help to build a brand intrinsically for just building this a brand's sake, but as I had mentioned earlier, because our employees, or the words of our employees, are greater trusted by our customers, what you'll find is that leads generated for your business will be faster, greater, enjoy better velocity when they're generated by your employees, when they're brought in and identified by your employees, than those leads that you would generate from a marketing perspective. And that's in the B2B context. I get that. So again, in B2B, you have employees who are advocates. You'd have leads being generated much faster, converting much faster, because again, these are your people. They understand who you're targeting, and those target customers will be trusted in that sense. But also in the B2C space, it brings a more human face to the brand. So even if I work for Dove, which is sold on a supermarket shelf, Dove soap, again, if I'm part of an army of ambassadors who are bringing a human face to the brand, then what tends to happen is that human face inures to the benefit of the brand. And as you can see, a brand like Dove is doing phenomenally well.
Yeah, but you're not saying at all that that the people are going to sell. It's just that they probably generate. You know, it's a working in business is a passing game. You know, you get the ball, but you might pass it to somebody else.
Correct, because I mean, you have many different types of employees in a company. So you would have a sales team if that's your model, your structure, and that certainly would benefit them. But even if I'm not on the front lines, even if I'm not a salesperson, I can be a part of that team of employees who are ambassadors, sharing the wonderful word about our company, and it helps. You know, I'm not a salesperson myself in my own company directly, but I get folks saying, boy, I invest with JMMB because I see what you're doing, or I love what their employees are exuding. They seem happy, they engage. When I come in, I feel it, and they're giving off that essence to me of what the brand says it stands for. And yeah, nothing better. And I love what Andrew has said here about
I'm
the
just going to
best
bring it
free
up.
advertising. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing about you coming onto this podcast is you don't actually mention, you know, we're 13 minutes in, and the first time that you've actually mentioned who you work for.
Right.
Now, if anybody, and you know, the way this always works is, and I try to explain this to people, that you come on and you show that you're an expert, which you clearly are. You show that you've got something to say, which you clearly do. People will be watching it and go, so who does Kerry-Ann, what does she do? Who does she work for? What does
Yes.
she do?
Yes. Yes.
And in a way, people are self-selecting and qualifying themselves in by doing that. What you're coming
Yes.
and talking about internal marketing here is in effect an advert for your company.
Yes,
Sorry,
indeed, because the company brand gets to come along for the ride with what
because
I'm doing
it
on
comes
board.
along for the ride free. But
Yes.
it's not an advert. If you know, if I started saying, you know, buy your product because it's great, everyone would switch off.
Yes. Yes. No hard selling, just being authentic, sharing valuable content, and creating a connection with people is what builds that trust, and people start to look in and say, hey, who's that? What company is that? They look great, they sound great. If their employees are happy, that says something about the organization and what they do.
So do you need to get leadership support for this?
Oh, absolutely. I guess like any initiative, you do need leadership support because, first of all, again, it starts with the company being able to be clear about what our mission, vision, and purpose is. And really so, not just something that we sit in a boardroom and type it up because it sounds good. But leadership has to be on board with who we say we are as an organization. And they have to recognize and see their employees as part of that voice and to be enrolled in that process. So absolutely, leadership support is necessary.
So what can go wrong?
Hmm. What could go wrong is the fact that I think where some companies are concerned, and this is another contentious point, is that if it is that we recognize the importance of engaging employees in our mission, vision, and purpose, what kind of employees do we have making up the body? You know, and again, a contentious point because I know folks have varying views on things like hiring for values or hiring for alignment of purpose. But the reality is, if as a brand you're clear about what you stand for, your people also need to be not only clear, they need to be aligned. I know, again, to speak to my own company brand, JMMB, we're a brand of love. That's our main core value. We can't be hiring people who have anti-Semitic views. Let's just keep it real, you know. And so, as a brand, you need to be clear, who do I have on my team, and are they aligned with what we stand for as a brand? And
Yes.
that can be contentious, but it's a reality.
Yes, and I think 5-10 years ago on social media, what you would have done is you would have said hide something because you don't know. Like if I say I believe, we wouldn't have talked about diversity and inclusion because you may have said, well, someone may come to you who doesn't believe in those things, and then they won't be a customer of yours. But
Yeah.
now I think what we're able to do is actually say, well, actually, if you don't believe in those things, I don't want you to be a customer of mine.
Yes. Essentially, yes. Indeed.
And we trained somebody. We trained a female who was gay, and she wanted to write on her LinkedIn profile the fact that she was gay, and she wrote the story about how she found that out,
Mm.
and she wanted to share that with the world because it was her.
Right.
And we ended up into a big debate with her leadership about whether that was a good thing, and I said yes,
Hmm.
because what will happen is that if you, it's your authentic self.
Yes.
And if you don't like dealing with a gay person, you are never going to buy from that person
Absolutely.
because you'd work it out very, very quickly.
Yes.
So this need to be authentic.
Very
Um,
much so.
I mean, but so there's so many things, culturally. I remember talking to some marketing leader, and she said to me, "Oh, I won't let the salespeople on social media to talk about stuff because I don't trust them." And it's like, well, you've got a real cultural issue there in your organization if you hire a bunch of people that you don't trust.
Indeed, indeed, exactly. And just to use back the same example here, Tim, I'm on this live stream here with you. My boss doesn't know that I was going to be here. My company didn't know. I didn't have to get a permission slip because at the end of the day, they know who I am and they know
Yes.
that I'm going to come on here and I'm not going to say anything that's in contravention of what the brand stands for. So again, knowing who's on your team, what they represent, and are they aligned with what your brand stands for is super
And I
important.
mean, sharing stuff on social media should be quite straightforward. Being a
Mhm.
spokesperson for a brand is something different. When I was
Yes.
in a corporate role, I had to do a 2-day work talking to the media course. And then there was a list of spokespeople.
Hmm.
When I did it, it was spokesmen.
Yeah.
And That's how long ago it was. But it was, it was you to do something like this. Maybe you need to do something additional in terms of the training so that they know
Absolutely.
that talking to the press. So if I could ask you some really difficult questions, I'm not going to, but
Yes.
and then of course the person may answer them and get into a muddle, and then
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so how as an organization do we get started on this?
Great question. So first of all, I think like in any great marketing project, the first thing you want to do is you do your temperature check in the form of research. So similar to what I would have mentioned earlier, understanding not just whether your employees are satisfied and engaged, but understanding their level of engagement in the brand itself, the mission, the vision, the purpose, the products, the services. Do they feel proud to work for you? Do they believe that what you have to offer to customers is something worthy of sharing and getting excited about? And making sure that that connection and alignment with the brand is there. If that research demonstrates that there are some gaps and some missings, please do address it. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your product, which is another contentious nomenclature in internal marketing, the product that you are giving to your employees, which is the culture, the job, compensation and benefits. Are there any things there that need to be addressed as well? Again, if employees aren't happy in the culture with their team leaders, if they don't feel valued, heard, then again, they're not going to be motivated or engaged to be ambassadors of the brand. Then of course you definitely would have to do your internal communications, your internal campaigns that would help to sensitize and build that engagement in not only our offerings, but again, the mission, the vision, the purpose of the brand. And then finally, empowering your employees, giving them the tools that they need, the information, the policies, the guardrails, yes, so they understand the strictures within which they must operate. But most importantly, empowering them with the tools that they need where required to be ambassadors of the brand and to represent the brand proudly in the way that they'd like to. So yeah, I'd say tightly those are about 4 or 5 steps that a company can implement.
So how long has the project taken you so far?
Wow, well, it's been going on for years, and I don't think it ever stops, Tim, because you're always hiring, you're always changing out team members, so you always have to be doing your research, doing your check-ins. You're always going to have to make sure. I mean, even now we are post-pandemic in a hybrid world where some folks are remote, some are in office, some are doing both. It's impacting relationships at work. So you're always going to have to be in a state of making sure that you keep that engagement, keep that connection, so that the empowerment continues. So I don't think it ever stops. It's kind of like a management philosophy that has to guide how you approach your engagement and empowerment of employees to be ambassadors.
Kerry-Ann, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. It's a fascinating subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've made a note in my notes. Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. That's a pleasant surprise. I appreciate that.
Many happy returns for tomorrow. So
thank you.
Remind people where they can get hold of you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Kerry-Ann Betton Stimpson, Kerry-Ann Stimpson on LinkedIn, or the Internal Marketing Podcast, anywhere podcasts are found. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on. And who do you work for?
I work for JMMB Group, a financial services group headquartered in Jamaica, based in the Caribbean or the Caribbean.
Or the Caribbean, depending on which side of the pond you are. Thank you so much, Kerry-Ann, for coming in.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.